Where is your office?
I'm based out of Bangalore.
Okay.
Currently at all right, guys. We are live. Amazing. Hello, everybody. So we are all set for our next Skeleton session today. We're gonna take a little bit of time and wait for people to start jumping in, and then we'll dive into what today's topic is and what we'll be talking about. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to Jito Skeleton event today. I already see people jumping in. We've got 20 people. All right, awesome. Hello, everybody. Guys, as we wait a little bit just for people to tune in, I would like to say, Jay Jinendra, my name is Nihal. I will be your host today for the Skeleton session. And the topic is going to be about the eighth wonder of the world. Let me just put that down in the chat for everybody who's coming in. As everybody is coming in today, right now, as you're tuning in, I would love to know if you can drop in the chat box below, what do you think is some of the most powerful forces in the world? I'm just curious to know what you guys think. If I asked you what is the most powerful force in the world, what do you think it would be? Please drop in your answers in the comments below. And as I'm waiting for answers to come in, we've got 50 people already live with us today. Hello, everybody. A few rules and just some stuff that's going to happen. So we have a beautiful session today with Anil Sharma ji, and he is a certified leadership coach. Today, we're going to be talking about the eighth wonder of the world. And it's a very powerful force that all of us should be able to understand. And not only understand, but be able, if we can introduce this and use it in our lives, how it would compound us and take us to different levels and all across our life. I see people saying, I think the mind is the most powerful force in the world. I love that. That's a really good answer. Awesome. I would love to know, guys. Let me know, what do you think is the most powerful force in the world? Let me know in the comments below. All right. We have, all right, we're around 60, 70 people coming in live. Let's go. Um, Guys, so today, welcome to Jito Skeleton. My name is Nihal, and I'll be hosting your session today with Mr. Anil Sharma. All right. When you think of the most powerful forces in the world, somebody has said mine, somebody is saying money. I think along with that, some things that might even come to our mind are maybe even things like gravity or supernatural forces, maybe nuclear energy, right? But did you know that according to Albert Einstein, the most powerful force in the universe is actually compounding interest? And not only this, but he has also labeled compounding interest as the eighth wonder of the world. If I think that is super interesting, and that's what today's entire topic is going to be about, which is the eighth wonder of the world. I would like to introduce today's speaker, Anil Sharma Ji, who is a certified leadership coach, and he is currently associated with Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder, which is a coaching network, one of the world's largest executive coaching network across the world. And his mission is to help business leaders measurably improve their leadership behaviors and help build high performing organizations that get results. Hello, Mr. Anil. Welcome
Hello.
to the Skeleton event.
Hello, Nihal, and Jai Jinendra to all. And happy to be here, and thanks for that introduction, Nihal.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. This is, I think, a lot of us who are trying to understand, when it comes to when we think about things like, um, savings and investing. All of those things are important, but what if there's a force above all of this that could be so important? And I think, we were on a call earlier today, and you said it's not just about finance, but it can compel, it can be used across all aspects of our life, from our mind to goal setting and stuff like that. So I think this is going to be a beautiful session. Anilji, why don't you take some time and you can introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more about today's topic, and then you can go ahead and share your screen, and we can dive right into this.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nihal. Thanks for giving me that opportunity to meet with all these wonderful people, mostly of whom are entrepreneurs, if I'm correct.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
we'll talk the language of growth today. That's what we are all here for, right? And when it comes to growth, most of us associate ourselves with material growth, monetary growth. So I did that with myself. I did that with a certain formula, as Nihal said earlier, that Einstein had described this wonder formula and how we can achieve material growth. But being a coach also, so I'm an avid investor also in the equity markets, and I mentor other people who come into equity investing also, but that's on a friendly basis. So I manage my own funds in the markets, but then people who want to know how to do fundamental analysis and technical analysis of equities, I help them learn. So that's on the material growth side. But I also learned that this same force can be applied into your personal well being also. It's a force multiplier to help you grow both physically, mentally, spiritually, in any sphere that you wish to grow. So material growth, you start off with material growth, but then you branch off into personal growth as well. That's the route I have taken and experienced on an individual basis. And then I also coach people. I also coach high potentials, basically high potentials in business, the CXO levels, the VP levels, to help them understand what leadership behaviors they they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing, because leadership is about how people see you in action. Leadership is about perception. Leadership is not about you being on a pedestal or on a particular position. So it's a perception game. So leadership is essentially a practice of certain deliberate behaviors. And this is where I come in as an executive coach to help the high potentials. And so our total experience is about 31 years, out of which 25 years was spent abroad. I've been, touring various countries across the world, 25 countries in my business, from America to Japan. I've traveled about 1.6 million air kilometers, if you would, that, because we have recording, of all the travels that we do. So well traveled, connected across multiple cultures and businesses. And now I help across business based in Mumbai in helping them streamlining their business, streamlining their leadership roles as an executive coach. And I also train aspiring directors on corporate governance advisory. So that's a bit about myself, and thank you and happy to be here. Nihal?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Anilji. So, guys, just a few rules as we dive in now. We're about to share our screen and dive right into the topic. I see that we've crossed over 100 people who are live right now. So, thank you all for being here. A few rules. This is going to be a little bit of an open ended discussion. We would love for you guys to jump in at any time. There's a small button on the bottom that says to request to speak. You can go ahead and tap that if you want to come live and ask a question. There's also a chat box. Please type in your questions. We will do our best to cover everything. Apart from that, this is, we would love to request you all to go ahead and share this link with your friends and your families. Get everybody involved, because the more knowledge and the more wisdom we can share, we can help each other grow. And that's what Skilltown is all about. It's all about skilling up in the occasion of the Youth Skills Day. And perfect. Thank you all for being here. Mr. Anuji, you can go ahead, share your screen, and you can kick off today's session.
Sure. Let me do that now. Okay, is my PPT available?
Yes, we can see it. And
And I'll
yep,
put it on the sharing mode, the presentation mode. So is it
yes,
full screen now, right?
yes.
Great, great. So happy to be here all, and I hope to give you, the insight behind growth. And I wish you all this growth in the same manner that I have benefited from it, and countless others, in my peer group, and countless others before us have benefited from this. So that's about me. I'm Anil Sharma, an executive coach and business consultant, and that's about who am I in my past, work profile. Handled $200 million of P&L across India, Middle East, Africa, and now in my consulting experience I work with various organizations. So there is an organization where we have a GTO member, Mrs. Divya Momaya. So, in her business, Mentor My Board, I work with aspiring directors to help them learn about corporate governance as they get on to becoming listed companies. I am also on the board of studies of Junjunwala College in Ghatkopar for their BCom, study syllabus reviews that we do. I am also a member of the Institute of Directors and Marshall Goldsmith Coaching Network of USA. So, without further ado, let me jump into the topic. This is a nice pic which I didn't actually get from the internet from any stock site. But interesting thing to note about this is I made this picture fresh through an AI, artificial intelligence app called DAL-E. I wonder if you have heard about it so far, right? In the league of Chat GPT, now you have an imaging site called DALI, and I just put in a prompt saying that I want to have the image of a king who is playing with his courtier a particular game of chess. And this is the image. I mean, this is one amongst the various images it produced, and I liked it. I said, let me put it. And you'll see on the bottom left hand corner there is a B written, which is Bing. So I use the Bing platform to enter Dali. So this is the wonder of AI. That's the beauty of AI. That's unraveling before us. So why this image of chess? I wanted to tell you a story before we get into the topic. So the story is about chess. And here's a king. Um, Maybe on the left hand side, you can associate him as the king. He had this love for chess. He was given the chessboard and introduced to the game of chess by some visiting merchant a few years ago. And he liked the game so much that he was almost playing it on an very frequent basis with people from his kingdom, from his court, and he became a master at the game. So much so that he announced a challenge to various visitors far and wide from across his kingdom to come and play a game of chess with him. And the king would offer a handsome prize, and prize means treasure, to his opponent if the challenger achieved victory over him in this game of chess, right? So there, certain time passed by. The king was always a winner, and a few days, few months, a few years went by, and there was this passing merchant who came into the kingdom and heard about this challenge. And this merchant तो होते ही हैं होशियार. So I hope I can go into Hindi in between also, right? If that's not an issue. So he heard this visiting merchant heard about this challenge of the game of chess. He said, "Okay, let me go and play with the king." And so the king asked him, "What is the reward that you desire if you win this game?" So the merchant says, "Look, O king, I don't need much. I have, you know, already lots of good things, material riches with me. So my request is very, very straightforward. I can only hope for this. This is what the merchant says. He says, please give me 1 grain of rice. Only 1 grain of rice. एक चावल का दाना. For the first chessboard square, right? And then give me, he says, if I win, give me 2 grains of rice for the second square in the chessboard. And in the next one after that, double it to 4. So in the first one, 1. In the second square, he says, give me 2 grains. In the third square, he says, give me 4 grains. And in the next square, 4 का double कर दो, 8 grains. एंड दिस इज बस आप ऐसे ऐसे करते जाना, सारे स्क्वायर पे मेरे को चावल के ग्रेन के डबल करते जाना. एंड उसमें कितने स्क्वायर होते हैं? देर आर अबाउट 64, not about exactly 64 squares in a chessboard. So all I ask, the merchant says, that with each square, the number of grains is double the number of grains in the previous square. So I hope you got the condition. Now the king was a bit perplexed, baffled. The merchant could have asked for any valuable, gold, हीरा मोती कुछ भी मांग सकता था. But the king, he didn't think too much about it at that time, and he said it looked like a very small price. बस चावल के दाने चाहिए. That's it. The merchant was a brilliant player because इतना अगर वो सोच के आया तो वो बहुत शातिर दिमाग है. And they set out to play the game. So they are playing the game in this, screen. And what happens is after some time, the king started to lose, and he started sweating. कि ये क्या हो गया, कोई मेरे से भी स्मार्ट प्लेयर आ गया. The merchant was a brilliant player, and he ended up defeating the king. Now, having lost the match, but the king is a man of his word. So the king asked his, mantri, finance guy, please come and give him the reward, whatever he had asked for. So he went away, and the official started counting the number of grains, the rice grain, onto the chessboard. So here is the chessboard, and there are 64 squares, and they started putting the grains. Now see, 1 grain, 2 grain, 4 grain, 8, 16, 32. I'm just doubling all the figures. 32 का double 64, 64 का double 128, 128 का double 256, 256 का double 512, 512, and they started to doubling. So now what's happening is the quantity started to look much more than what the courtiers or the treasury, the finance ministers were expecting it to be at the start. It was increasing exponentially with every next square of the chessboard. By the end of the fourth row, one, two, three, four. By the end of the fourth row, the king had to supply 2.1 billion grains of rice. 2.1 billion B. Now, everybody started sweating. So, the king is also very anxious now. And he is asking his officials to estimate what is the total rice needed to reward this merchant. It's only going on increasing. And there are, so by the fourth row, he is on the 2 billion grains of rice, and there are four more, you know, rows to go still. And the answer? The answer made him realize that the number of grains required to fill the chessboard was far beyond the capacity of the chessboard, far beyond the capacity of his entire palace, far beyond the capacity of his entire ग्रेनरी. उनके जो भंडार थे उससे बहुत ज्यादा. कितना होगा? कोई इमेजिन, कोई कोई फिगर डालने की सोचेगा इसमें? कितना होगा? लेट मी पुट दिस फिगर. कैन यू रीड दिस नंबर? इट्स 18 with 12. गॉड नोस, 1 2 3 4 5 6
I don't
18.
even know how to say this number. It's so big. What I don't know what comes after trillion.
Okay, so let me help you with that. This figure, the way we read it is 18 quintillion. It starts with 18 quintillion, 446 quadrillion, 744 trillion, 73 billion, 709,600,000 grains of rice to fill the entire chessboard. This rice, I mean, if you weigh an individual grain of rice, is almost equal to, in weight, by weight, this will be 210 billion tons of rice on the 64th square. Now, this is the exponential compounding which has happened. And the volume of rice, so much of rice, is enough to cover the entire land of India in a 1 meter thick, you know, depth. That's the amount of rice if you go compounding on this 64 square. So now everyone is baffled, right? I mean, the king, by agreeing to this reward, the king realized he had bankrupted himself, right? And this is essentially the exponential growth or the power of compounding. This is the powerful force in the world, which is what we are here to discuss today, the eighth wonder of the world. Einstein has called this the eighth wonder of the world. I mean, you have read about the seven wonders, right? हमने स्कूल में पढ़ा है, कोई ताजमहल है, कोई इजिप्ट का स्पिंक्स है, and so on. But compounding is supposed to be the eighth wonder of the world. What is compounding? Compounding is essentially building on top of what's already there. एक लेयर है ऑलरेडी, उसके ऊपर आप बिल्ड कर रहे हो, उसके ऊपर आप बिल्ड कर रहे हो, उसके ऊपर जा रहे हो, एंड सो ऑन, एंड यू कीप ऑन कंपाउंडिंग. सो दिस इज कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट. आपने बैंकिंग टर्म्स में भी अगर कभी सुना होगा. सो नाउ Raja is in a fix. He is unable to generate so much of grains of rice, and so the merchant now comes across. Merchant is also very smart. He says he understands the king's worry. He says, "Dear king, don't worry about the rice. If you don't have enough, you know, you can pay me the value of all this missing rice in gold or land. Give me जमीन या सोना, उतने वैल्यू का आप मुझे दे दीजिए." तो राइट देन फिर किंग को पता चला कि यार ये स्मार्ट आदमी है, बहुत ओवर स्मार्ट आदमी है, एंड उसको फंसा लिया गया है. द किंग अंडरस्टैंड, आई हैव बीन ट्रिक्ड. So this was hard for him to accept. Now king is also, not a dumb guy. I mean, after all, he's a king. I mean, he's sitting there at this position, managing the affairs of his kingdom. So he's not been dumb. So he's also started thinking. So he knew a thing or two about negotiating, the king. So king now started thinking, how much value of the land or gold should I estimate for so much of grain of rice? So now he said to the conman, so the story यहाँ पे खत्म नहीं हुई. So he says, okay, I will pay you in gold and land, as you said, for the full amount, because I can't give you the rice. First of all, I don't have that much rice, and my kingdom, my people need to eat the rice, right? So I can't give you the rice, but definitely I'll give you the equivalent value in gold and land. So now the king's turn to turn the tables. So he says, but before you receive your payment, he says, just to be sure, you are getting exactly what you asked for. I want you, the merchant, to count each and every grain of rice that I have to pay you. See, he's asking for gold and land, right? For the value of rice. So many grains of rice. So the king says, वो तो मैं दूंगा आपको, but कितना grain of rice है, वो आपको count करना पड़ेगा. And till the time you don't count it, because जब आप count करोगे उसका वजन पड़ेगा, और उस वजन का जो भी per kg का भाव होगा, I will give you that in gold and land. So now the merchant is taken aback. He says, "Oh, my king, that won't be necessary. I trust you. आप कुछ भी वैल्यू, एक बड़ा वैल्यू एस्टिमेट करके दे दीजिए, and I trust you. मैं तो you know I believe in you." And the king says, "Oh, no, 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 no. I don't want to cheat you. There has to be no doubt that the king of this land pays his debt to the full." So now the merchant's time to turn to think it over, and now he is thinking. The merchant is thinking. So now what is thinking? He says, मैं अगर एक थाली में एक चावल का दाना, 1, 2, 3. So he's thinking, if I start to count one grain of rice, it would take me approximately a second, maybe less than a second, but assume a second. And if he started to count the number of grains of rice that he'd been promised till the 64th square, it would have taken him his whole life. And still, he would only be at the start of his count. Now, can you fathom the figure? अभी reverse compounding चल रही है. So, imagine this. Rough and ready calculation. An average life of a human being is what, 75 years or so. So अगर आप 75 years में if you count the number of seconds that you have, I mean, because each second is one grain of rice. Suppose if I have to count, the merchant would need approximately 237 million seconds to count 237 million grains of rice. And what is the figure here? It's more than a billion, it's more than a trillion, it's more than a quadrillion, it's more than a quintillion. So the merchant realizes it, so it's a failed thing. Oh, I can't count. मैं पूरी जिंदगी खत्म कर दूंगा तब ये पूरा नहीं होगा फिगर. And the king insisted, नहीं नहीं आपको तो पूरा गिनना ही है. You have to count, and I won't pay you until the count has been completed. The merchant also quickly realized the count is impossible and told the king, okay, please, take this chessboard as a gift and please let me go. So there's the story about compounding,
I love
right?
that. Thank God they didn't have calculators at that time, right?
I mean, we can't even fit this on a calculator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the beautiful story, what I want to narrate to you is compounding works in all areas of your life. So it's not only financial, it's also mental, it's also physical. So what do you mean by mental and physical space? So let's discuss one by one. So we'll go mental first, we'll go physical second, we'll go financial third. It was easy to do financial. First, it comes easy, but I said let me, you know, look at it in the concept of holistic growth. So let's start with mental. So what I mean by compounding to improve your mental state, right? Now we are all here for growth. So how do you improve your mental acuity? How do you improve your mental skills? Certain skill building that you need to do, soft skills, hard skills, counting skills. So what do? We have heard of this term called, lots of people do binge watching. Binge watching is in vogue after all these OTT stuff has come through. Netflix hai, Hotstar hai, Amazon Prime hai. So now imagine, instead of binge watching, if you cancel your Netflix account, what will you gain? You will save maybe 150, 200 rupees a month, more than that. It frees up your time to self educate and acquire skills. It frees up your time to build new knowledge over some knowledge developed in the past. And, let me give you an example. Um, in the year 1995, I was working in Bombay, and then there was a lot of IPO, coming day in day out. I used to work in Nariman Point. This is an office hub, very commercial hub over there. So a lot of trader community over there, and IPO है, आज इसका भाव बढ़ गया, इसका भाव गिर गया. And I didn't understand any of it because by training I am an electronics engineer, and I didn't understand an F about finance. So I started reading up in those days that pink newspaper आते थे, अभी भी आते हैं, Economic Times. I said, which is the best one? I need to read that, and I made it a habit to go through the pink newspaper. I also picked up this magazine, the Lal Street Journal, and then Bhav copy, and then I started to read all these publications. It didn't make sense to me at all. It was very tough, and in that period, I had no one in my family who were coming from the CA, CS side, and in my friend circle, again, we were all engineers. So no one really to help me. But then I went on reading, went on reading, went on reading. It was also a matter of, show off kind of thing. When I entered the office, I had a pink paper in my hand. Everyone had white. I had this pink paper. So part show off, but part knowledge building. And believe me, what happened over the period of months, and then internet search was not very easy in those days. You couldn't look up a term. इसका मतलब क्या होता है? You had to actually ask someone, or you had to go through a dictionary. Okay, what does this term mean? So I used to ask some of the accountants in my office, ये term क्या होता है? ये term क्या होता है? And over a period of time, it started to make sense. And I started to make small investments on my own, listening to people, falling, again, doing something, playing with my money, taking some risk. And over a period of time, today, this is a situation I read about four pink papers in the morning. Four. And four papers I typically finish in about 40 minutes or so. 40 minutes, four papers, newspapers. So that is the speed with which I have picked up. And I pick up each and every part of it today. So what has happened? My knowledge has compounded over a period of days. I kept at it. I want to understand it. And today it's easy. I can, look up any term online to look up any definition. So what has happened? My mental skill set of reading financial pages, my mental skill set of reading books of accounts, the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, has improved over a period of time. This is also a different matter because when I grew up in my profession, when I grew up in my job, I was given greater responsibilities, and with greater responsibilities, ultimately it comes about ending handling people and money as you keep growing in life. So people मैनेजमेंट एंड मनी मैनेजमेंट, ये दो मुझे समझ में आ गई कि ग्रोथ के लिए ये महामंत्र है, आपको अल्टीमेटली यहीं पे आना पड़ेगा. So mental compounding, let me tell you also about, I told you, right, four papers in 40 minutes. I also improved my reading speed. पहले बहुत slow थी मेरी speed. But this is what I can tell you. If you read every day for 30 minutes, every day, you build this habit for 30 minutes, you will be able to finish 30 plus books in a whole year. आज के दिन में आप अपने से पूछिए, how many books do you read in a year? But if you read good books, you are actually having a conversation with the author about what they feel about the certain subject, about a certain topic. So maybe you'll improve your mental quotient, right? And apart from books, um, you read continuously, you read about a certain subject, you develop this habit called speed reading. Now with me, there is a certain situation. When I go to YouTube, you have um, video cast happening. There's a lot of good stuff happening on YouTube. अभी मेरी स्पीड रीडिंग भी हो गई है एंड स्पीड व्यूइंग भी हो गई है. सो आई कांट wait to see the YouTube video at 1x the speed. I typically put it at 1.75x or 2x so that I can go through the video faster, I can absorb the content faster. Same way with a book. When I take up a single page, my speed reading has gone to such an extent that I don't read word by word, I read line to line. So you can do more as you compound your knowledge. So that's about the topic of mental compounding. So what you can do apart from binge watching, if you cancel that, you can go to audiobooks. आपके पास आज की डेट में वो ऑप्शन है. You can do podcast, read podcast, listen to podcast. You can listen to, view YouTube videos, which are great for learning something, get new ideas, and improve your thinking process. So this is where compounding will help you over a period of days, months, years to come at a certain level where I can speed read, I can speed understand, I can consume a lot of material faster than maybe a 10 years younger me. So I have become better than that maybe the 30 years younger me. Let's go to the other angle, the physical.
Anilji,
Yes,
Anilji, I would just like to kind of step in for 1 second. I think what you just shared, if people understand this, this is probably one of the most beautiful takeaways that I have probably heard today. I think even personally speaking, I think I used to struggle because I have always wanted to read more books in my life, but
yes,
there's this idea that, oh my God, I'm such a slow reader. I can only read, like, I only finish one book in every 6 months, if I'm lucky.
yes,
And there's this pressure of, oh my God, I need to finish this book in this week. And so what
yes,
happens is we don't even start reading because there's this effect that, oh my God, there's so much to do that we don't even take that action. But if we
yes,
just sit down and we just promise that leave everything, if we just do a small thing of having 10 pages a day, even just 10 pages a day,
yes,
in a year you can finish over 5 to 6 books just by doing 10
easy.
pages a day. And I think that
easily.
is so interesting because everybody who's tuned in right now, I would love to know: do you guys have a Netflix account? If you have a Netflix account, let me know in the chat right now, because I'm curious to know. I was just filing my IDR, tax for this year, for the financial year, and I noticed that every month I am billing myself 199 rupees per month.
Yes,
All right. And I
yes,
calculated that, and I was like, okay, TK, that means approximately in 1 year, I'm only spending 3K, not a big deal at all. And I was like, okay, I'm going to let this expense continue in my life. Today,
yes.
after your chat, I feel like I'm going to go home now and delete my account, because it's not just the 3,000 rupees, but the compounding effect of those hours over and over again that have now taken away the compounding areas of my mental, physical, and well-being is exponentially high. I can remember, like, I just binge watched the Fuzzy, 8 episodes, 8 hours, in 2 days. So like,
Yes.
it is a beautiful topic, guys. If you have Netflix, let me know in the comments. I think there is one question that's just come in from Kama. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Sir, even I started reading newspapers, but there is full of negativity. How do you manage it? This is a little bit off topic, but you can answer that in really quickly, and then we can go back into your presentation.
Sure. So let me give you my example again. As I said, my objective was to learn about finances in the world of investing. So what did I pick up? I didn't pick up the news items. I picked up the financial news only. So I focused my attention. राइट, घोड़े को भी जब दौड़ में दौड़ाते हैं तो आंख में पट्टा लगाते हैं. Why? Because increase your focus on what you want to attract and remove what distracts you from your goal. So आप अपना focus clear रखिए and you can focus on what you want to do. So forget the negativity. This is not helping me. But let me come back to your question again in my last slide when I come to you, right? And there is a concept in management of what looks good. What looks good. What is the benchmark? So coming to the topic of the book, even I had this starting trouble, Nihal. And from that day, starting trouble in 1995 till to today, Nihal, I can finish a 225-page book in half a day today. In half a day. In a day, I can finish off 2 books. That's my reading speed. And when I say finish off, I mean to say by also getting the gist of that book. So this is what looks good. You know, you can have this benchmark. Okay, where am I, and where do I want to be, and what do I need to do over a period of time, and you can be there, right? Let me come to the next example. Mental ho gaya. Let's go to the physical realm. Now, same way like Netflix, you know, because work from home economy hai, less of train ka dhakka mukki, you know. So it has given us something called as a sedentary lifestyle. Sedentary lifestyle meaning not too much activity. बैठे बैठे काम हो रहा है. And there are some who are very physically active. I used to be physically active quite a lot, and over a period of years, when it comes to managing, you generally sit in a position, you view certain dashboards, you speak to people, you negotiate. It makes your lifestyle a bit sedentary, less physical activity. But a sedentary lifestyle, what does it lead to? It leads to an exponential decay of the health. As we reach 50, even before 50, 40s mein, you start to get that sugar ho gaya, BP ho gaya, and God knows, what all starts to happen to you. So physical activity needs to be consistent. If you don't do it already, I mean, what? You can at least aim to take a 20-minute daily walk, if not half an hour. 20 minutes daily brisk walk will will help you a lot more than you think. If your lifestyle is sedentary, take time out, 20 minutes at least minimum, walk. And when do you walk? I mean, I'll tell you, after my dinner, I walk 1 hour in the night, 1 hour in the night, and a brisk walk after dinner. Because you have taken your dinner, you want to, digest it, and you want to go to bed a bit tired, so that your body has to keep on burning the meal that you had, and your heart rate is up, and generally you want to keep fit. Junk food, if you have this daily practice of daily eating junk food, will hurt you in the long term. It keeps on compounding. वो जो calories हैं, वो जो clogging of arteries है, it keeps on compounding, and one sudden day you get into a stroke or a sudden heart block. You never know. It reduces your quality of life. And healthcare, guys, it is very expensive nowadays. Gone are the older days. It is very expensive. So what is needed? Moderation is key. Moderation, beach ka rasta. You can still enjoy your sweets, your salty and fried food. Just don't do it too much. Start to take, also it will help you, you know, uh, it will help you if you take your own packed food. If you make your own food, it's healthy and it's cost effective also. Which brings me to the third point, the financial. So, how do you improve your financial well being through compounding? You start by attacking your cost, unnecessary cost. This is what I meant. Not all costs are bad, some costs are good costs, but unnecessary overspending. So, the first example which I gave was I used to take home my packed lunch in my office days. नहीं तो colleagues होते हैं, चल आज इधर जाते हैं, उधर खाना है जाते हैं, उधर खाना जाते हैं. But generally, I prefer to you keep a consistent meal. It saved me expenses, but it was also good for my health. So if you don't track your expenses, you will not know what hit you. Over a time, small purchases either can cause you a lot in the long term. Now people will think of saving, right? So India mein saving culture was big. Now saving and spending, consumerism is happening in a big way. So I want to leave you with this thought that saving is different, investing is different. I mean, if you save just 500 rupees a month for 30 years, just एक डब्बे में डालते जाओ, what you will have after 30 years is 1,80,000 in your account, right? But if you invest this 500 rupees in the equity market every month, after 30 years, you will have, you know, 10 lakhs of rupees. So compared to 1,80,000, you'll have 10 lakhs of rupees in your portfolio. The compounding is working for you because businesses, they generate a return every year, right? They generate a healthy rate of return. They typically generate 15%, 20% rate of return every year. And when that rate of return gets into your investment starts to grow at the rate of 15, 20% every year. So it's 15% for year one on 100 plus 115. Now this entire figure will compound at the rate of another 15% and so on and so forth. So what you have to do today is invest early. That is the key. And some people might think, oh, I'm 40 or maybe I'm 45. Oh, I'm 50. Don't be disheartened. Start whenever you find. Jab jago tab savera. Even if you are 50, start now. There's a reasonable expectation that you might live to an average life of 75 to 80 years, right? You still got 25 to 30 years ahead of you, even if you start at 50. But if you are at 30, oh my God, beautiful. If you are at 25, beautiful. So start early to grow your wealth, invest as much as you can, as consistently as you can, and don't touch it for as long as you can, right? So compound interest works in a miraculous way. So the right question to ask is, does it work for us or does it work against us? So the key is, what is the key? The key is to start now. The key is to start small. The key is to stay consistent. So what is the key part which I have not highlighted in this? You have to build certain habit. आदत बनानी पड़ेगी आपको by starting now. अगर आप डेस्टिनेशन के बारे में सोचोगे तो you will fail. Focus on developing the habit that will lead you to the destination, right? If you start running maybe 400 meters every day as a small target, start with 200 meters, 400 meters, आप देखोगे आपका स्टेमिना इतना बढ़ते जाएगा कि at a certain few months stage you will be ready to run a marathon. So start now. The first step is the easiest step. It's a small step, but it's often the hardest step. कि मैं कब शुरुआत करूं? You put it off, right? कल करूंगा, परसों करूंगा. But the first step, the smallest step, you take that. Then you take another, and then you take another, and then you don't stop. Consistency. Same way, when you are investing financially, when you are investing mentally, when you're investing in physicality, you might get bored at some time. You need to be comfortable getting, it sounds very drudging, drudgerous to be on the same path. But you do something every day for a year, don't focus on the result, it will start to create a habit. It goes slow until it goes very fast. Same way like that rice grain on the chessboard. These small wins will compound for you. These small wins will build your muscle. What muscle? It's called the success muscle. वो आपके पास शायद अभी नहीं हो, बट आपको वो सक्सेस मसल को बिल्ड करना है. Start to do action every day. Start not to think in days, think in terms of decades. That's what you need to do. So, this is what Albert Einstein had to say, that compounding is an excellent method of growing your wealth or your goals over a period of time. The real magic happens over time. If you want to accumulate wealth and want to become rich, you have to use the magic of compounding. My last parting slide for all of you, you know, when you before you go to sleep, before you close of the day, ask yourself, this is called what I say daily question process. What do you do? Either you ask yourself or you pay someone to ask you daily. Nagging बोलते हैं ना, nagging. तो ऐसे nagging करवाओ किसी से. And then ask yourself, did I do my best today to set clear goals? Did I set clear goals? मैं क्या goal करना चाहता हूँ? कोई स्किल डेवलपमेंट करना चाहता हूँ, कोई वेल्थ क्रिएशन करना चाहता हूँ, कोई फिजिकली मैं ठीक होना चाहता हूँ. मैंने कोई गोल सेट किया है कि नहीं किया? And then ask daily, did I make progress towards that goal achievement? Better still, if you write it down on a book and then date wise you put a tick. Yes, I did made progress towards my goal achievement. So my goal achievement is, for example, becoming healthy. So what does it mean to become healthy? Did I spend 30 minutes in the gym? Did I spend 30 minutes after dinner walk? Then it says you have done your progress. और जिस दिन आप अपने आप को प्रोग्रेस में रोज टिक टिक यस यस लिखना शुरू कर दोगे, you will feel so beautiful, you'll feel so good about yourself, you'll put a pat on your back, and you'll sleep peacefully. Third question, did I do my best to find meaning? Sometimes बोलते हैं ना लोग, I mean, today, this morning itself I was speaking to someone who says मैं बहुत अकेला रह गया हूँ, I don't know what to do with my life. Now this guy is finding meaninglessness in his life. So you have to find certain meaning. How are you contributing to society, to your own well-being, to your family well-being, to your samaj well-being? So that is the question. So you might want to choose a particular question, or you might want to go through all the five particular questions. Did I do my best to be happy? Being happy is not an external affair. Okay, because she praised me, because she likes me, because my boss praised me, because I made so much money, I am happy. You cannot say that I'm outsourcing my happiness. You have to become happy. You have to choose to become happy. And the last point, without positive relationships in this world, you really cannot go far. अकेला आदमी नहीं कर सकता. You have to build that positive web of relationship. So this is a question process when I coach people, and coaching is a long term engagement. This is what I ask them. Not exactly the same set of questions, because they might have a certain different kind of objective. And then I hold them to task. What did you do to achieve what you intended to do? Right? And this is where we end. So I thank you for your attention. And as we know, this is not the end really, but the beginning of efforts to applying effective compounding practices for your growth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Anuji. You can go ahead and stop sharing your screen. And
Sure.
I just want to say that that was absolutely beautiful. I think there were so many key takeaways in this. We have close to over 400 participants, listeners on with us right now. I see a few
Right.
requests coming in to come
Mhm.
live, so I'm going to accept a few requests if you guys have any questions.
Sure.
On that line, I just want to add one thought. So I'm just going to add I'm going to add a few people into the chat. There is Amrut. I think. I hope I can only see half your name because of but I'm just adding you in. Mm, I'm not sure. Let me just add. Kauri, I've also added you, but I'm not seeing you able to inside the screen window. No issues. Guys, if you can drop your questions in the chat, that would be helpful. I think there's a technical difficulty in bringing you guys in. Along with that, too, I just want to say one thing. I think there's this thought that I came across recently, this thing that I've read, and I think in the journey of it's called the journey of continuous improvement. And I think a lot of people, especially around New Year's, we come down together and we make resolutions that by the end of this year I will go gym every single day. I will cut my weight down by 20%. I will increase my assets by so and so percentage. I will have this much money in my bank account. And what happens is, that overwhelming feeling of I need to do this and get that result kind of breaks our spirit, and we're not able to, we're creatures that are not able to commit to such a big goal because it feels out of reach. And what happens, we end up losing out on that. And so there's this process of continuous improvement, and it reads so simple that if you just improve by 1% every day, all
Yep.
you have to do is improve by 1% every day. Today you could have done, let's say at the gym you can do 5 push-ups today, so you do 5, and tomorrow try to do 6. After that, try to do 7. That's it. Just 1% every day. With the power of compounding, I think you improve by over 37% in that 1 year itself.
Yeah.
Is what I read. Could you share something on those lines?
Okay. Um, are you asking me to pitch in?
Yeah, like just yeah on that. Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is a well-documented principle. In fact, the Japanese call it kaizen also, and that's how the Toyotas of the world became so famous, right? With small improvements, and it happens as you said in the gym beautifully. You start to improve on small measures, and you stay at it. You stay at it consistently. I mean, there will be times where people might, Are, why are you going to the gym daily? What is the benefit to you, right? But you might not see this benefit in 3 months' time, but give it time, because this is how compounding works for you. Give it time, and you'll be amazed at the results that you start seeing, because your abdomen starts to shrink only after 3 months. You start to burn fat only after the first 20 minutes. Now these are documented things in science, in human bodybuilding, and same way in habit formation. They say you also do something continuously for 21 days and you will build a habit. But in my practical experience, 21 days might be too small a period. You need a larger period to build a nice deliberate habit, right? They say, also say, practice makes perfect, right? Which sounds like a very simplistic statement. It might not be true, because if I'm doing incorrect practice, it won't make me perfect. So the right sentence would be to say is, deliberate practice makes perfect. You know, you go into a gym and you want to do a certain wrong form, you will not end up getting benefited from it. You have to take guidance from the gym coach, and that is what the Tendulkars and the biggest tennis players, they have their coach to improve their form. Similarly, in the financial world, when you start, you will listen to certain experts in the industry, and then take guidance, because if you start to go on a wrong measure, it might take you on a different track altogether. So deliberate practice, informed practice will make you perfect over a time. Give it time, because that's the essential element of compounding. Unless you give it time, you won't get the beautiful result that you seek. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I think the idea of Kaizen, like you mentioned, is so important. I think that it's a book as well. So I think everybody, Kaizen and the art of continuous improvement, definitely something that everybody should check out. I think I see a question here that is asking about, when it comes to the power of compounding. You mentioned earlier that take your instead of putting 500 rupees into your bank every day, put that 500 and invest every month 500 into the stock market. Can you share more? Talk. Can you go deeper into this a little bit? Maybe give different examples of what can you do with that 500 rupees. Let's say if it's just a small amount of 500 rupees every month. What are your different options? How can you diversify that, and how can you tap into the power of compounding?
Okay, so luckily, all of us today are in such a beautiful time where Indian market is growing. India as a GDP is growing. We are already a $3.75 trillion economy, right? We started off with being a $2 trillion economy. So let me show you the power of compounding. Just 9 to 10 years ago, we were a $2 trillion economy, and it took about 50 years plus when we started independence to become a $1 trillion economy. So what's happening is the number of years to gain the next trillion is reducing. The beauty, the first trillion took 50 years. The next trillion happened, the first trillion happened sometime in 1990. And then after the liberalization, the way Indian economy has been opening up, adding trillions is now from 3.75 trillion, we are looking at going to 5 trillion by 2027. Today is 2023, right? And then from 27 to 2030, you will be looking at adding $7 trillion of GDP to the country. Now, look at India as a company which is growing so fast. It's like on a flight which is taken off. It's going on to cruise altitude, right? The aircraft consumes most fuel when it is going taxiing on the runway, right? But when it takes off in the air, when it is at cruising altitude, it consumes less fuel. So going to the next trillion is happening seamlessly, is happening very smoothly. So how you can benefit is you can see Indian GDP growing at about nominal GDP 10 to 12% a year. Now you have beautiful companies who are growing at higher than the rate of GDP. Now these companies are growing at 15% compounded annual growth rate. You will come across a figure in the financial press. It's called CAGR, CAGR, compounded annual growth rate. Now, if a company is growing at a compounded annual growth rate of 15%, you can say this is a fairly decent sized cruise altitude company. But then you also have companies which are growing at a CAGR of 25% plus, three times maybe the growth of the economy. Now, these are called growth companies. Which are the growth companies? I mean, you have the Paytms and the PB Fintechs and the Zomatos and the various other small internet companies, the small cap companies, the mid cap companies. So, we have companies of various large and small capitalizations. Now, if you do not understand about financials, no worries. Still, you can grow. Go the way of mutual funds because there you have the money managers who manage your money. And you can even invest in something called as an index fund because the easiest way when you open a paper, you see आज बाजार का भाव क्या है. When you say bazaar, what do you say bazaar is? Sensex. Now Sensex consists of 30 top companies of India. When you say Nifty, Nifty consists of 50 top companies of India. Even if you just invest in a single mutual fund which invests in the Sensex or Nifty, you will get a compounding growth of 14 to 15% CAGR, compounded annual growth rate. आप पैसा डालो 5 साल 10 साल, आप डालते रहो, SIP करो, मंथली डालो, क्वार्टरली डालो, जब पैसा हो तब डालो, लमसम डालो, एंड देन यू सी योर मनी कंपाउंडिंग बिकॉज जैसे बिजनेसेस ग्रो होंगे आपकी वैल्यू ऑफ द इन्वेस्टमेंट कीप्स ऑन ग्रोइंग हायर देन अ बैंक बिकॉज व्हाट वुड अ बैंक गिव यू 6%, 6.5% पर एनम, पर आपको जब उससे डबल मिल रहा है मार्केट में इक्विटीज में, राइट? एंड दैट्स हाउ योर मनी कैन कंपाउंड फास्टर. And that is what is investing because investing means taking a certain risk in the business. You are entering a business. So when I say, somebody asked me what is your business, I said, oh, I have about 20 businesses. What do I mean by that? I have invested in 20 different companies. So those are my businesses. I feel I have invested in those companies, and then I see them growing, and then I see my portfolio growing. So you can also, even if you are not aware of doing direct equity investing, take your money because it's not only historically hota tha, gold or real estate, right? But gold has given steady state returns 10 to 11% over a period of time. Real estate is very micro market. Some places you will see some escalation has happened, but there are some places in South Bombay which have not appreciated at all. So people are understanding this and going into financial securities. apart from gold and real estate. So India is diversifying. And जब इंडिया डाइवर्सिफाई कर रहा है, फॉरेन मनी अंदर आ रहा है, इंडियन मार्केट्स आर ग्रोइंग. सो बी ready to participate in this growth story from 3.7 trillion dollar today going up to 2050 when we are, staged to become one of the developing economies, from going from developing to developed economy of the world. It will benefit us all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. I think that was such a great explanation of the various opportunities available, especially in this country that is now reaching cruise altitude, which is, it just there's so much to look into, so much potential, so many opportunities out there. I think for everybody. We have Sindhu who has joined the video. I think you're on mute, Sindhu, so you can take this opportunity. We only have maybe 1 or 2 minutes left, everybody. So maybe one or two questions. Sindhu, if you want to just unmute yourself and ask the question that you have, you are here. You can just turn on your camera and unmute yourself. Sindhu, can you hear me? Okay, maybe he's not there right now. I'm not sure. Maybe there's still a difficulty with getting on the screen. That's right then. All right then. I think that is a great note to end the session on. Anilji, thank you so much for being here today and leaving all this valuable insight with us. Thank you so much, and yeah, thank you for your time.
Great. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. All right, guys. See you guys in the next Skeleton.